Hey everyone, welcome to day 87 of the 1000 Days of Nocode Challenge. If you have ever wondered why some of the apps are slow, if you have ever heard of optimization of an application, or if you have ever received an email from Bubble saying your workload units has spiked and you were wondering what is this workload units all about, then today's video is for you. Like broadband providers calculate our internet usage in terms of GB, Bubble calculates our consumption or our app's consumption of their server capacity in terms of workload units. In simple terms, it says how much of Bubble's server is our app consuming. The calculations of this workload units is very complex, and let's not dig deeper into that. Let's just try to understand where do we see this workload units and how do we understand which part of our app is consuming a lot of them so that we can build a more efficient application. So let's get started.
So as we already discussed, workload is the unit Bubble uses to measure how much of Bubble server is our app using. And the way we can see that is go to logs and app metrics. You can see here that this app has consumed 1162 workload units in the last 1 month. As you can see, that is from Jan 22 to Feb 21. Okay. Now, if you scroll now slightly below, you can also see how much of it has been consumed in the live version and how much of it in the dev version. We have not sent this app to live, and hence everything that we can see here is consumed in the dev version itself. Scroll slightly down and you can see how much workload units we have consumed on every single day, right? So this one being the most, which is 439 workload units, right? If you scroll further down, you can see how workload unit has been consumed in our application. And in this case, we can see fetching data has consumed a lot of workload units. And this is the case in most of the application. Fetching the data from server to the browser is the one which consumes the maximum number of workload units. So you can click on this. It will show you even further. Okay, aggregate search is the maximum. Then we have search, real-time search, individual data request, and so on and so forth. So click on this. It will give you further breakdown of what is actually happening. So deleted search is what has consumed a lot of workload units. So we can click on this. Okay, it says that the first two search has been deleted, so you cannot go there, but let's click on this one. And as we can see, we've used the do a search for with some conditions, and this is being loaded on every single day of the calendar. And that's why it's consuming too much workload units. So likewise, if we go back to logs, we can go to this one. We can see that on the admin page, we had created a table where we are displaying all the users from the database. And that again is fetching the data from server onto the browser each time the page loads. There are a couple of things that we have to keep in mind. In Bubble, anything that you're asking Bubble server to do, whether you are adding data to the database, you are deleting it, you are updating it, or whether you are fetching the data from Bubble server onto the browser, you are consuming workload units. For each of these actions, the workload unit consumption is very different and it has various factors involved. But one thing to understand is, irrespective of whether you are displaying the data on the front end or not, for example, in this case, we are displaying the name, email ID, date of birth, and the date of creation or the date of registration of that particular user. But in the database, we have admin yes or no field, we have a cover image, we have a date of birth, domain, email verified, file, linked team, name, OTP, phone number, profile pic, reference number. And if the privacy policy allows, all of these details will be sent to the front end.
So every single character that we are fetching from Bubble server onto the front end will consume workload units. And that's why we have to understand the concept of structured data and unstructured data. Structured data are those where we know that it cannot go beyond certain limit. So for example, names could be 12 characters, 20 characters, sometimes 30, 40 characters, not more than that, right? Email ID, similarly, could be like 15 characters, 20, 25, 30 characters or something like that, okay? Date of birth, we know is fixed number of characters. Likewise, created date or registration date is fixed number of characters. Whereas, if you are talking about user's bio, if you are talking about user's experience, if you are talking about blog posts, articles, social media posts, all of this could be just one line, it could be 5 lines, it could be 10 lines, it could be 20 lines. And those are unstructured data. And when you have unstructured data added to the database, which is getting loaded on page load, something like this, it will consume a lot of workload units. And that's precisely what we are going to understand in the next session. Now, we all know how to identify the killer with regards to the workload units. And most of the times, it's the data structure that is the culprit. Keeping track of workload units isn't just about saving server capacity. It's about delivering a smoother and faster experience for your users. In the next video, we will dig deeper to understand how do we optimize with regards to workload units. And we will also understand the impact of structured versus unstructured data on performance. That's all from me for today. And as always, stay curious, keep experimenting, and I will see you in the next one.